So, in case you haven't seen the news, New Japan have announced that they will be returning next week, starting on June the 15th with a special mystery card show, and then starting the New Japan Cup the day after on the 16th with a host of empty arena shows for the New Japan Cup, leading up to two nights at the Osaka Joe Hall, which will have socially distanced fans. Now, this is very exciting for wrestling fans and maybe some fans that haven't seen New Japan before, because it's now another bit of wrestling in this strange empty arena quarantine era. So I thought I'd have a chat with Mike and we'd kind of give an introduction to New Japan Pro Wrestling. Hello, Michael.
Oh, it's me. Hello.
Hello. It is an exciting time for wrestling fans, particularly fans of New Japan, as they have announced that they are returning next Monday. So I thought it'd make sense. We all thought it would make sense for two of the New Japan perverts to sit down and kind of give a little bit of a potted kind of run through of what is going on, because one would imagine that because the wrestling is limited at the moment, there's going to be a lot of new eyes over on New Japan. So before we start, why don't you give us a little bit of, I was about to say give a bit of a history, then I realised you'd panic me thinking, give the history of Japanese wrestling.
Let me get Chris Charlton's book a second.
So
it started in 1972 when Anthony Inoki Antonio Inoki, not me, I didn't start it.
It's not your Twitter handle.
Antonio Inoki started New Japan Pro Wrestling. And
that's it. No, give us a little bit of history on when New Japan this year decided to stop shows and how they've come to the decision to now eventually start running them again.
The last show the New Japan run was right at the end of February, so we've been over 3 months since they actually last ran a show, which with the grand scheme of things is brilliant, because they from day one they said they hear the most about their talent and the fans' well-being, and haven't done any arena shows, haven't forced anybody to come back into the country early so they could quarantine or anything. They said once Japan is out of the state of emergency, we were going to go back to running shows in line with testing people and just making sure it's a safe environment for as many people as possible. On the topic of testing, it doesn't sound like they almost seem to fit in the middle between where WWE are and where New Japan, where AEW are. They're doing antibody testing and temperature checks, but they're not doing the full COVID-19 test. So it's better than what some companies are doing, but also the country is completely out of, well, they're not completely out of their restrictions, unlike sort of New Zealand, where they've just announced all restrictions are gone now. It's basically, other than the country being locked down, everything's the same as it always was 3 months ago. So they feel they're in a position to start running the show safely for the immediate fans, for the immediate wrestlers, and then the final of the New Japan Cup and New Japan Dominion that are going to be the final, which, if I remember correctly, is the 10th and the 11th of July, or the 11th and 12th of July.
11th and 12th of July, yeah.
Yeah, so those shows are going to be at Osaka Joe Hall, and they're going to be around about a third capacity, which I believe is about 4,000 to 5,000 fans. So as long as there's no more spikes or any third wave for Japan, we should be looking at fans attending New Japan's second biggest show of the year in Dominion.
So like we said, we're going to kind of give everyone a bit of a quick overview on everything at the moment, and really nothing has changed since Wrestle Kingdom in January. Not too much anyway. Of course, we had the big what do they call it? Was it the double golds? What do they call the golds?
The double gold dash.
Double gold dash, where Tetsuya Naito won the Intercontinental and the IWGP Heavyweight Championships. He was then attacked by Kenta, who instantly made himself arguably the number one bad guy in the company, going up against Tetsuya Naito. So let's kind of have a look through the champions. Of course, Naito has probably been the biggest overarching storyline that isn't basically just how good Okada is in the last few years, with his steady climb from villain to anti-hero to now hero.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of where Wrestle Kingdom sort of culminated to was going years back to when the New Japan put out to the fans. So I can't remember what Wrestle Kingdom number it was now, but they put out to the fans that should the Intercontinental title be the main event or should it be the IWGP Heavyweight title being the main event, which goes against the sort of like the whole Japanese ethos of championship matches are the main event. So the heavyweight title goes on last almost regardless. But the fans voted and they actually picked the Intercontinental Championship. So all the way through since then, Naito has had a distaste for the Intercontinental Championship, and I sort of loved the year process going from Wrestle Kingdom in 2019 through to Wrestle Kingdom this year, purely because Naito, once it got to the point we knew there was 2 dome shows, and then once it sort of got to the point of being a double dash, Naito realized that the Intercontinental title was integral to him becoming champion. That's what he needed. He needed to win something he hated to get to where he really wanted to be and get the world title back. So it's been a really long story. It's typical Gedo booking of something that happened years back, but it cycles its way back around and is sort of interjected with different things throughout that time period as well.
Another person that was meant to get a not necessarily a shot at the championship, but a shot at the champion is another person that's actually in the same stable as Tetsuya Naito in Hiromu Takahashi. That was arguably one of the biggest feel-good stories of the end of 2019 was Hiromu coming back from his neck injury and then challenging and winning the junior heavyweight championship. Over the last year, 18 months or so, we've seen a real shift where the juniors are being treated almost on the same level as the heavyweights. You can see that with the New Japan Cup, where partly because of restrictions, but also partly because of some of the performances of some of the junior heavyweights in tag matches and in open weight contests. The juniors are now becoming up there on the marquee on the same level as some of the heavyweights.
Well, I think when you've got somebody like, obviously Ospreay has just officially moved up from juniors to heavyweights. And when you look at somebody like Hiromu, who has got all the charisma in the world, the Shingo Takagi, who had such a great Best of Super Juniors last year, went all the way through undefeated until the final, where he got beat by Ospreay. Sort of those guys where they've shown over the extended period how good they can be against heavyweights. They're bridging the gap. And one really good thing I've liked with the anniversary shows, they actually brought back the heavyweight champion versus the junior heavyweight champion over the past few years, and that in itself has sort of brought back to people's sort of mind frames and realizing the gap isn't that far apart now. You just really need more junior heavyweight matches, really headlining cards. So you don't have Naito defend the world title, have him defend the Intercontinental title, but put the junior heavyweight title out of the main event. Because Hiromu's going to sell tickets. That's without a doubt, and attract a lot of attention. He's learning English. He had a decent amount of English before the lockdown, so he's going to become a bigger star now, and he's going to connect all over the world with people, and that's the first step. And he could really take this company to another level.
Totally. If you want to do a little bit of background research in the week between now and then we'll learn more about kind of how good the junior heavyweight versus heavyweight matches used to be. I do believe a few years ago you had now obviously Finn Balor, but then Fergal Devitt went up against Okada, and that was kind of really at its first big peak of a junior rising up to face a heavyweight. Just before he went to WWE. Also, actually, probably one of the big things to note is there will be some Gaijin. Gaijin is foreign athlete. Wrestling. I know Will Ospreay will definitely be there.
No, Will.
Oh, Will is in there. Oh, Will is in the UK.
Will, for any talent coming in. So for the 32-man New Japan Cup, there's only 17 of the original participants. The other 15 that aren't there from the original lineup are guys they're overseas-based stars or people who can't get back into the country. So people where you look like Will Ospreay and like Juice Robinson, for example, they are out of the country at the moment, and for them to be eligible, they would have to be able to fly back to Japan and quarantine for 14 days, and then go through a testing process, and then sort of go from there. Whereas Zack Sabre Jr. never left Japan, so he stayed there the whole time through this lockdown, hence why he's available in this New Japan Cup.
The one I was going to mention, I said Ospreay to my discredit. Apologies for that, but the other one, who is a Gaijin, but he is training, is Gabriel Kidd, who is a British wrestling talent, and he is a part of the New Japan Cup, this revamped New Japan Cup, featuring more of the young lions and more of the junior heavyweights to fill in the gaps that the Gaijins left behind. That does mean there will not be any United States title action, because obviously that belt is over in the US with Jon Moxley. And now this is the part where it's been so long. We've spoken about the Intercontinental title, the IWGP title, the Junior Heavyweight title. We now get to the tag titles, which are currently held by the Dream Team of Kota Ibushi and Hiroshi Tanahashi, who have been carrying New Japan content with their hilarious buddy cop duo over on New Japan World, with their crazy taking off their shirts and all sorts of nonsense. But then this is the part where I'm generally strong. I'm trying to think of the junior tag team champions. I believe this is where you help me fill in with who the junior tag champions are.
It's Roppongi 3K.
Is it still Roppongi 3K? Yeah. I could be wrong on that one, but
they won it. Yeah, they won the titles at Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah. And the Never Openweight 6-man tag team champions, no one knows because no one ever remembers who the.
That is.
I believe it's Bullet Club. I think. Oh, is it Taguchi now?
No, it's Chaos. It's Chaos Team.
Is it still Taguchi?
No, it's LIJ. It's LIJ. It's Evil, Bushi, and Shingo.
So the LIJ.
Because obviously Shingo's got the 2 belts because he's a never openweight champion as well.
Yes, he did. He beat Goto for the championship.
Yeah.
For those that want WWE kind of cross reference to it, LIJ are very much like the DX, the rebellious kind of the rebellious face faction.
They're almost like if Stone Cold was a faction.
Yeah, pretty much like that. And then Chaos are very much if John Cena was a faction, because they're very cut and dry. They are the good guys. After a few tumultuous years, you would argue that probably the biggest heel faction in New Japan right now is Bullet Club once again. Well, you say the helm is kind of the very much, again, WWF reference, very much similar to when The Rock and Owen Hart were both leaders of the nation. You have Kenta and Jay White almost as co-leaders of the Bullet Club now.
Yeah, and you look now, the names from Bullet Club that are in this New Japan Cup, they're none of the big hitters. There's no Tama Tonga, there's no Jay White, there's no Kenta. Tama and Jay White are actually out of the country, so they can't be there. Kenta, I don't know. He is in Japan, from what I've heard. So what that means going forward, he doesn't know. But there is Gato in the competition, and Jado as well. So as much as Gato is not a leader per se, he's very much a director of Bullet Club.
Jado and Gato are the 2 lead bookers of New Japan. They run the show. Gato's kind of the main one, but both of them do help out with that. And they were recently aligned with Chaos. Gato was the manager of Okada. They had a parting of ways, and Gato no like that, and he ended up betraying him and joining Bullet Club.
No.
And then the other big faction is the personal favorite of mine and Mike's. We like to declare our allegiance to Suzuki-gun. And you'd probably say that Suzuki-gun are very much, they are the wrestling faction, aren't they? Because they are full of the...
No. You just leave it as they are the wrestling.
they
you
are
don't
the
need
wrestling.
any more than that.
Because you've got a team. Actually, to be fair, their ranks have changed massively. Obviously, Davey Boy Smith Jr. was a part of Suzuki-gun. He's now left.
Yep.
Lance Archer, he's now left. So that kind of leaves Minoru Suzuki, Zack Sabre Jr., El Desperado, Kanemaru, Taichi, and then
And
Dookie.
you've got Dookie. He's like a +1. He's not officially a member, I don't believe, but
He's a bannerman. He's a bannerman.
He's like
of
honorary
Suzuki-gun. Yeah.
member, isn't he?
So yeah, I'm trying. And then
You forgot me and you as well.
oh yeah, we
We're
are members. We are members of Suzuki-gun as well. We're waiting for our badge to come in the post. We know it's taken a while, international shipping and stuff. And there's not, and those are kind of the four main factions. You do have Taguchi Japan that seem to have a rotating, a rotating list of people that are constantly in it. And
it's
then,
whoever Taguchi needs at a time,
yeah.
isn't it? Taguchi goes, right, I need a mate to do something.
And then you have kind of the unofficial faction that I like to brag that we coined this phrase first and everyone else started using it as the New Japan dads.
Oh, yes. We definitely did.
We definitely coined that phrase.
Very
Not to
early
toot
on,
our
we
own
did.
horn, but we definitely thought of that first, which is all of the elder statesmen of New Japan. You'll usually see them. I think there are fewer in the
openers.
Are in the cup, but they'll be in the openers, usually wrestling / beating the crap out of the young lions, which will be Yuji Nagata's, your Togi Makabe's, your Kojimas, Honma, Tiger Mask, and so on and so forth.
Tiger Mask. So.
And then obviously you'll see a bunch of the up and comers, the New Japan Young Lions. They'll be the ones that are just in black tights, black boots. They don't do a lot of moves, and they all have Boston Crab as a finisher. They're pretty much the creator wrestlers, if you will, of New Japan. Now, I think to wrap things up, we are going to do a video. There's going to be 2 previews for New Japan. There'll be a written one done by our excellent New Japan correspondent, Kieran. And then we're going to do a video preview here on youtube.com/TWM Wrestle on the Sunday when the written one comes out on the Monday. But in general, let's mention, we'll say our one favorite and our one for, if anyone's new to New Japan, who they should keep an eye out for. So Mike, tell us, who's your favorite in New Japan? I think we'll know who it is. And then who's your one to keep an eye out for if someone's getting into New Japan for the first time?
My one to watch out for is Sho. He's a phenomenal talent. He's going to wrestle Shingo in the first round of the New Japan Cup. They had a absolutely barnstormer of a match in last year's New Japan Cup. It's one of the first early days as well. So if you can go back and watch that, that'll really give you a sort of a taste of why Shingo's so highly rated, but also why Sho is sort of probably would have broken out this year from Roppongi 3K and become a singles a junior heavyweight and moved up the card quite substantially. My overall one to just watch and enjoy watching, because he's very much my sort of graft, is Zack Sabre Jr. He's everything that I love about a professional wrestler, and he can cut some of the best promos as well.
He does. We'll discuss it probably more in depth, but his plan for Kota Ibushi in the New Japan Cup is an interesting one. We'll discuss it definitely on the preview on Sunday. For me, my overall favorite, I'll go for the obvious. I'll go Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is my favorite in general. Obviously, he's not going to be on these shows now, but in general, if we're talking about people that are going to be you're going to see over the next month or so, I think I'm going to have to give a shout out to Ishii, Tomohiro Ishii, because I don't think he gets enough love for he's what you'd know in other sports. He is a tournament player. He goes about his business, definitely. But when it gets to your G1s, your New Japan Cups, he turns it on and has some of the best matches of the year. My one to watch is actually someone, the person that's going to face Sho in the first round, and that's Shingo Takagi. Because, as I think people that know New Japan, a lot of people that know New Japan know how good Shingo is. I think the casual fan will know Okada, will know Tanahashi, will know some of the rounds. And I do think he's like one of them, even though he's a big name, it's weird to say about him, he is like one of New Japan's best kept secrets, because he's very good. He's very, very good. And expect him to have a few barnstorming matches, be it in tags and the New Japan Cup format. Final thing before we finish up, the shows, New Japan, are very run to a very specific like kind of schedule. It is usually tags, big matches at the end. So yeah, expect a lot of 6-8 man tags in the first half, and then you get your big marquee matches in the second half. If you're a new watcher to New Japan, I guarantee you'll probably last about a week before you start realizing what time to come in just to watch the main event matches, because they can get a bit repetitive. But you do get some blinders in there, especially with the Young Lion. So it's good to pick and choose as well.
But I think what people will find is, as much as they will start doing that and then sort of will come off the tag matches, once you start to get into a lot more and sort of follow the stories that are coming together, you realize the importance of the tag matches, because those tag matches will actually set little things up going through the tournament. So they're not just random tag matches that you've got on that day. They will probably be tag matches that relate to the singles matches on the very next day.
Yeah.
So you're getting a little taster and a little teaser in those matches as well. And then you are also continuously building little parts onto sort of faction storylines and other bits and bobs that are going on as well.
Yeah. Also, kind of final things, stuff on the side. New Japan, if you're not sure how to watch New Japan World, don't be daunted by the fact that it's in Japanese. It's very easily translatable through browsers. I would also recommend.
No, you just literally click a button and it says you say click the English button and it all changes.
That's why I said fine. It's very easily translatable. So when you first look at it, it can be daunting, but once you click that, it's very straightforward. I would also recommend, and I think it is New Japan endorsed, there is a Chrome extension if you've got Google Chrome called New Japan Next, and it lays it out even clearer in English than it was before, and it's already very, very clear. So don't be daunted when you first go on that page and you're seeing a lot of Japanese text. Press that button. It's very straightforward. And also, a lot of people like to listen to the Japanese commentary. It does give you a real authentic feel to how the matches are. But if you're kind of person like me that really needs commentary to get yourself invested into a match, you're very lucky, because New Japan probably has the best commentary team in the world in any kind of formation they have it in. Kevin Kelly is phenomenal, an encyclopedia of all things. Chris Charlton, our boy, he's amazing.
He is the encyclopedia of New Japan.
He is the encyclopedia.
He's written 2 books on New Japan.
And then they have loads of amazing rotating thirds. I love Rocky. Mike is basically Gino Gambino's biggest fan. So it should be it'll be really, really fun. So we hope that you guys are going to join us in getting involved with New Japan if you are new, and if you're already a fan, I bet you're as excited as we are to get back into things in regards to all things New Japan Pro Wrestling. As we said, we'll be putting a preview up. Myself, Mike, and McIver, maybe some others, are going to be sitting down and dissecting the 32-man tournament. And that'll be out Sunday afternoon/evening. Kieran is going to write a written preview for it on the Monday. That'll be out on twm.news. And then we'll be covering it as best we can throughout it. But obviously, there'll be weekly roundups on TWM Live, on twitch.tv, on YouTube, and on Facebook, so on and so forth. Mike, any closing things before we wrap up?
No. Only thing I would say is, if you are a new fan and you're going to want to sort of commit some time into getting into New Japan, do go and follow Chris Charlton on Twitter. That's @ReasonJP. He will fill in a lot of blanks for you just from the general stuff he tweets. And if you've got a question, honestly, tweet him. He will most likely reply and give you some sort of an explanation on it, because a lot of people use his sort of Twitter feed as a news source. I really do. Yeah.
Also, we're not as learned as Chris Charlton, but if you've got any general New Japan questions, feel free to tweet us at TWM Wrestle. You can tweet me at MattyID. You can tweet, I've got to make sure I'm pointing the right way. That way. There we go. Point the right way. You can tweet him at Anthony Inoki. Yes, that's his actual name. You'll see it on our Twitter. If not, just tweet TWM Wrestle. Subscribe, turn notifications, smash that like button. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy New Japan.